but let me. You guys can see this?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you for answering. All right. So good morning, everyone. My name is Richard McChinak. I'm a loan officer at Cross Country Mortgage, starting my timer. And what I do is home loans. So whether you're purchasing a home or own a home currently, it's my job to help you do a full life reflection, take into account all your personal factors and your goals, and hopefully we can make those happen and just improve your situation. So I get asked all the time questions about the interest rates, the housing market, and what's going to happen in the future. While I don't have the exact answer, we can do an educated assessment and, I guess, for lack of a better word, guess, because no one knows the future, but we can do our best to account for what has happened in the past, where we are currently, and where we're projected to go. So that's a question that I probably get the most right now. So I'm hopefully going to add some information and give you a better idea. So question, will home prices go up or down? Well, I like to take things complicated and try and simplify them. So we look at this from a couple different perspectives, or take a couple different points into account. One, and the first being supply and demand. So there's houses and there's people that want houses. So there's, at this point, about 14 million more households this year than last year, households being family or single or couple that needs them. And there's almost 3 million fewer homes inventory than is needed, which is pretty normal, but at this point it's definitely inflated because of natural disasters, events, and growing population numbers. So this is a picture of the inventory, which is like a 6-month inventory. So right now inventory is low, especially compared to where it has been year over year. And supply and demand, if there's not enough supply and the demand is high, that typically leads to inflated prices. And then another is people are also afraid of recession or a housing bubble. And I get this question the most right now is, what are we doing? We're going into a recession. Technically, we've had 2 quarters of negative GDP. Does that mean we're in a recession? Okay. Post-COVID, we're in a little bit of a different time than normal trends, but typically you'll see a healthy economy have a recession or a tapering every 7 years or so. And we haven't had one in almost 14. So it's pretty expected at some point, and people are definitely hyper aware of that right now. But housing stays strong through recessions, at least on a historical basis. Like I said, I'm not giving you the future here, but I can definitely look at it from a historical perspective. So in this graph, all these dark columns are recession periods. At the bottom, you'll see the years. And then, excuse me, during those times, what does the market do and what does the index do? 2007 and 8, it was a exception. The housing market went down during that recession, but previous recessions, you'll see the housing market has been steady, strong, and consistently up since the 60s. We had a little brief one in early 2020 when COVID first started, and we're going into potentially unknown territory, but another recession is a possibility. During those times, housing has stayed strong, so we expect it to stay pretty strong during that. So who will buy homes for the next 10 years? Third question I get all the time is like, are millennials buying homes? First-time home buyers? Are you seeing investors? So from a generational and population standpoint, people born right here in 1989, myself, there was they're 33 years old today. That's a good idea of who's buying homes currently. And there's more and more people available or wanting to buy homes just based on births. So taking out the social goals, but just from a population standpoint, it looks like there's going to be a lot more people wanting to buy homes moving forward. And how is that for a first-time home buyer? Higher interest rates. Is it hard? Should we wait till interest rates go down? But we have high inflation right now. So what does that mean for interest rates, and compare that to inflation? Last August, 30-year fixed mortgage was the prime rate about 2.8%. Today it's 5.6. If you can do the math, that's double. So yes, interest rates are higher, but what does that mean for inflation? Inflation a year ago was 2.6%. That was year over year, March 2020 to March 2021. And right now, it's about 9.06% year over year from August to August, August of last year to August of this year. So that means the cost of goods, cost of living items is 9.6% or 9.06% higher than it was last year at this time. I'm sure if you're buying gas or groceries, you're well aware of that. So this stat I don't like, but why do people borrow money when there's high inflation rates and low cost of borrowing money? Because you're paying back a mortgage with depreciated dollars. So you're paying back your debt with money that's essentially losing value every year by 9%. So why do big companies get debt when they don't need it? Because where's the worst place to put your money during inflationary period is just keeping it as cash. You're essentially, if you have money in the bank, you're essentially losing 9% of it. It's 9% less value than it was last year at this time. So how can you navigate that and take advantage of that? What's the opposite of cash? Debt. So as inflation goes up, your debt is actually worth less and less. So if you were going to have a $600,000 mortgage, assuming an 8.5 inflation rate, which God knows it's not going to keep that, but it'll hopefully get lower. In 30 years, that $600,000 worth of debt is worth $428,000. So debt is less valuable. So if you got your debt now, in the future, it's worth less. Excuse me. And inflation eats away at your debt. It causes prices to go up, including real estate and rents. Rents are always going up. So what do mortgage rates do during the recession? Historically, these are the recessions, the dark columns, and those are the mortgage prime rates during that time. So you'll see right here, we had a recession in the 80s, early 80s. Interest rates went from almost 20% down to below 15%. So that was a big drop. And if you look at where we are now, I can't see because of everybody's faces, but we're still comparatively at the lowest rates have been ever. So yes, from this time last year, they've doubled, but doubled to what? It's all relative based on what the window that you're looking at it through. So I think rates are getting back to a normal level. They're not going into any craziness, but potentially we could see rates at 10% at some point. They have been there before. I don't know if we'll go back there again, but we are getting back to normal levels and hopefully reducing the rate of inflation by getting there. Oh, there's all the slides. I forgot I did those. So I know that was a lot of just generic information, but I would like to know if one thing you learned today, maybe something you liked or didn't like. I'm always open to critique and answering questions. This QR code goes to my contact information, so feel free to scan it. And if you have any questions, I got about 40 seconds left. So feel free to ask.
Richard, are people buying down their interest rates on purchases?
Yes. And a great way to do that is seller contributions. So if you're going into a home, maybe it's been on the market for a long time because they didn't get Jolene to list it for them. You can go in, make an offer structured to a seller credit, which the seller would essentially be paying towards your closing cost to purchase a lower rate.
Yeah, and that's a terrific strategy. So you might want to learn from Richard how that works because it benefits all the parties in that case.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard.
Thank you all for your time.